start. Dean asked me, or said that this morning we could just kind of do a general discussion. As I was doing some reading this week, I've been reading a book called Strata, which I would really recommend to you. It is about geology and the formation of the world as we know it, or of the earth as we know it. It's very well written, and it's well worth reading, and is not just a scientific trope. I'm going to read a couple pages of that just to kind of warm things up here a little bit. They seemed something out of Dean's playbook of using something that isn't necessarily out of the Dharma literature that is definitely Dharma teaching. The person talking to, referred to as Woody here, is one of the first what are called earth scientists, who combine the study of geology, biology, and some other things. It'll be clear to you. But this is the beginning of his quote. He's talking to the writer of the book at this point. And he says, she too is an earth scientist. If you get this right, Woody told me, placing his cup back down, you know how the earth works. By how the earth works, Woody meant how air, rock, water, life, and ice all interact in the web of feedback loops that geoscientists call the Earth system. Together, the 5 facets of this system, the atmosphere, air, lithosphere, rock, hydrosphere, water, biosphere, life, and cryosphere, ice, orchestrate the global climate and, in turn, the underpinnings of our lives. It's by coming to understand this system that I've grown to see that the physical world, not as the static backdrop of our daily experience, but as an ever-changing vessel that ripples and responds to innumerable changes, and has been doing so for billions of years. Over time, these subtle transformations build, erode, and rebuild the world anew. We live our lives within recycled landscapes, and those recycled landscapes live within us. Everything on this planet connects with everything else, from the microscopic elements of the air we breathe to the macroscopic movements of continents and ocean currents. We can't build a mountain range without changing the atmosphere at least a little bit, because freshly sculpted mountains pull carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And you can't change the atmosphere without changing the chemistry of the ocean, because oceans absorb and release carbon dioxide. You can't change the ocean without affecting the life within it. The loops of connection spin on and on. So that's the first quote. I'll stop there for a second if anybody has anything they want to ask, or I'll move on to the second.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that's pretty much in keeping with the Hawaiian readings that we're doing now.
Yeah.
About everything, the interconnectedness of all things.
Yeah. I mean, that's what really struck me as I'm reading this. I'm thinking, I could have been reading this out of one of my Dharma books.
I have a question, just a curiosity one for you. I know you've had a lot of interest in astronomy and you do scuba diving. What made you pick a book on geology to read at this point?
Two things. Number one, I've always been interested in geology and kind of never knew where to start. I've always liked rocks and strata and things like that, but never really pursued that. And number two, my daughter, who narrates books for the Library of Congress and also for a private company, I always ask her whenever I see her, so what are you reading lately? And she told me about this book and told me that it was a wonderful introduction to geology. So I put it on my Kindle and started reading it. That's how it came about. But I've always had the desire, and I've actually thought about like doing one of the senior courses that you can do at one of the universities in geology just to understand it better. This is even broader than that in the sense that it's using the rock strata and what they're looking at. One of the things that he's talking about doesn't come out in these quotes is called the GOE, which is the um, great oxy. It can be, depending on which scientist, the great oxygenation event or the great oxidation event, both of which talk about the advent of oxygen on our Earth. A lot of what leads up to this is the story of they're looking at where it came from and how that comes about, and they're finding the answers in the strata and the rocks. So, anyhow, long answer to a short to that question, but that's how I got started on this particular book. Um, anything else? When Woody arrived at Harvard, the field of geobiology, the study of the interconnectedness of the Earth system, was still relatively new. But while this was a new way of thinking in modern Western science, many Eastern religions and indigenous cultures had long recognized the crosstalk between life and Earth and how that ancient dialogue led to the evolution of the world we inhabit today. Evidence of our shared origin can be found all around us, writes Sherry Mitchell, the indigenous lawyer and author from the Penobscot Nation, in her book Sacred Instructions. Science has finally caught up with what we have always known, that we are all related. Earth historians are only beginning to appreciate and understand all the intricate ways that the pieces of this system have evolved through time. It's an area of science that itself is evolving through time, and one that is deeply vulnerable to error. What we think is true today could be disproven tomorrow by a new rock sample or a new laboratory reading. Nothing is set in stone, no pun intended, because of our understanding of the stones keeps changing, as do the stones themselves. Sorry. This is a hazard of the job of the earth historian, and you have to be okay with that in this line of work. Not only be okay with it, but perhaps be even motivated by it, humbled by the fact you may never know for sure whether or not you are correct, grounded by the persistent reminder that you are small. This too reminded me a great deal of the Dharma. Well, maybe if we truly are enlightened, maybe we'll get to the point where we know by realization what is out there. But my guess is most of us won't. And that's, uh, I said, I think on Thursday, one of the big things that sort of came to me. I've always looked at science as this way that we're going to get to the final answer. Except as limited beings, we can't do it. The absolute is out there beyond us. We may taste it, but we can't understand it with this mechanism because this mechanism isn't big enough. We've got to understand it in a different way. We've got to understand it by our realization and by our connection to it in a way that's beyond our cognition, as strong as our brain is and as impressive as our brain is. And when I look at what we've accomplished as a species, it is truly amazing. And yet we're on the verge of wiping ourselves off the face of the earth. So that's not so amazing to me. I just assume we don't do that. So anyhow, these are the two quotes that struck me that I thought I would bring in here. And any thoughts? Anything else today? Okay. Well, I kept you here a little longer than if we'd have just stopped after the service. That's fine. Hope these, the two quotes that I gave you spur some thinking or at least support some of your other thinking. And we'll chant out and we'll convene again on Thursday. May our intention equally penetrate every being and place with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it.
Have a great Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving.